It's Sunday, so I'm still talking about religion. I can't help it on Sundays for some reason. Even though I've never been religious, really. Although my grandfather was a preacher, I believe, although I never knew. Yeah, it's this thing to do with metaphors and religion. Are the stories in the Bible real, or are they just metaphors? I find it so irritating, that question. I really do. It really grinds my gears, as the character on Family Guy says. And the reason why it irritates me is because I think it's a serious misunderstanding or understatement, underestimation of what metaphors are, really, I think. You know, when you hear a story of something like the virgin birth or the resurrection in Christianity, certainly some fundamentalist Christians, but not too fundamentalist Christians actually, fairly mainstream Christians, would say these are real events. And they have to say they're real events, because if they implied they were metaphors, it would be a suggestion that they were sort of much less value and not terribly significant. And not only that, but there would be kind of poetic allusions to something which could be put in much simpler language. And the simpler language would be the real meaning of the virgin birth, or the real meaning of the resurrection. And that might turn out to be something quite trivial, to do with, I don't know, having one's consciousness raised or something, I don't know. But anyway, which inevitably sounds trivial compared to real life coming back from the dead. Wow. But again, I think this is just a misunderstanding. You know, I think those things are metaphors, undoubtedly. But they're not metaphors for something else. They are the metaphorical structure of possible thought, I think. You know, and tremendously interesting for that, in a way that poetry is tremendously interesting. And the insights of poetic logic are tremendously important. You know, no one in their right mind would take a poem and interpret it into plain language and think that nothing had been lost. And of course, huge amounts have been lost. And the most important poems of all, the most important poetry that we have, are the ones that seem to do what religious stories do, which is to articulate the otherwise inarticulable, or the difficult to articulate. And something like the virgin birth and the resurrection might be examples of that. I don't know what they articulate, and if I did know, they wouldn't be doing it, because it's in the nature of them to be inarticulate. But the metaphor is the thought, it seems to me. You think using those thoughts, and it's a really important thing. And I think the significance of something like virgin birth and resurrection is demonstrated by the fact that it pops up in so many other religions, in addition to Christianity. I think it's in the Mithras myth, it's in the, at least so I've heard, it's in myths to do with Isis and Osiris. I think it's in, oh dear, what's that? I can't remember the other one I'm thinking of. And I'm sure it pops up elsewhere also. So there seems to be, I don't want to go down sort of Joseph Campbell, Power of Myth road here, but there seems to be something, some metaphorical story which is really interesting to us, and is giving us a tool for thinking, which is simple to grasp, like all good tools should be. Can be grasped by the uneducated and the lowly, possibly misused in the way that tools can also be, I accept, and without which we wouldn't have as rich a poetic imagination. So the idea that it has to be true just seems completely pointless, and as I say, missing the point. Because true things just happen, whereas mythological things stay around. Mythological things take up residence in your mind and in the cultural imagination. become part of the architecture, part of the toolkit of thought. Whereas real things will just happen, don't they? That's it. I'm seeing these trees around me here. These trees will all be gone in 100 years. These real trees. But the mythological trees, if you like, or the metaphorical trees that are populating my imagination, they're not going to go away. They're far more important in many ways. I mean, I'm not diminishing the importance of the environment, of course. I love these trees, actually. But in terms of my cognition and in terms of the cultural poetic imagination, an individual tree is not terribly important. One preacher who may or may not have died 2,000 years ago, it's a shame, but that's not the significance of the virgin birth and the resurrection.